You know, one of the things that happens over the years when you buy different kinds of gadgets, different kinds of equipment, is you get cables. You get cables for pretty much everything, and they nearly always have different connectors. These are some old connectors for a TV to a DVD player. I think this is meant to connect my computer or an old one to some kind of external hard drive. And then you've got an old TV aerial. Remember those connectors? Little round things on the end? And these are connectors that are meant to be high-speed connectors so that the information travels fast, but even they are a bit out of date. A simple power cable with a plug on the end. We live in an age where we have to be connected, but the question that is begged by all these different connectors is it has to be the right kind of shape to connect well. And so one of the things that I'm wanting to explore really today is to talk about the question of connecting well. Now, for the whole of the last 12 months, we've spent quite a lot of time exploring the idea of our own personal connection to Jesus Christ as part of our big vision, our plan for the next 5 years or so, had to begin and continues to be founded on our personal connection to Jesus. If that connection's not working, nothing else is really going to work at all. So we've spent an enormous amount of time continuously drawing people's attentions back and back and back to the importance of being plugged into Him. I'd be interested to know how you've got on with that. To what extent you would say that's an improved connection, that's something that is now stronger, that's something that's now more substantial and influential on your everyday life. If it is, then there are likely to be new openings in your own heart and mind to the next area of life. Once a person has started to connect to Jesus, there are some natural things that start to flow out of that. That's not just you and Jesus connections, but it's connections into what Jesus wants to do in the world through you. One thing I've been passionate about for over the last 12 years or so is an interest in and a fascination with the way in which not just individuals can follow Jesus, but groups of people can follow Jesus in such a way that their lives are much more effective together than if they were just doing things as individuals. This next phase of our 5-year vision is with a strong emphasis on the role of our small groups. In the same way that the first year was concentrated on the presence of Jesus in our individual lives, this next phase is to do with the presence of Jesus in our groups and how that can really start to make an impact not just on the group, but on Christ's ministry through the group. Let me talk about the idea of a group, a pre-existing group, becoming a connect group. Most home groups, most small groups or Bible study groups concentrate on their connection to Jesus, and they concentrate on their connection to each other. There's usually an element of nurture and care and love and good relationship within most groups. There's a desire to pray, a desire to meet with God together. Those are two really important aspects, connecting to Jesus together and connecting to each other. But there's a third area that would make a significant difference and is transformative not just for the group, but for lives of other people beyond the group. A connect group is a group that focuses intentionally on the needs and networks that Jesus wants to lead the group into. Not just concerned with itself anymore, but intentionally saying, Jesus, you're the centre of this group. Who should we actually be reaching out to? Who should we be serving? Who should we be building relationships with? The idea of a connect group is on a regular basis, as a rhythm throughout a year, each group takes responsibility to set aside time so that there's the opportunity to meet with, to socialise, to serve groups of people who you know. It could be existing friends or relatives. It could be brand new connections, brand new contacts that Jesus leads you to. The bottom line, though, is this. Jesus in his own ministry was forever open to the possibility of relating to new people, the possibility of people who wanted to be open to God. In the same way, Jesus would want to call groups to adopt that same approach where they too commit themselves to connect in a together kind of way to different people beyond the group. This whole idea is obviously a bit of a sea change from the way in which most people think about their home groups or their small groups. For a number of people, your small group is a bit of a haven. It's a place for you. It's been designed to meet your needs. Well, part of our devotion to Jesus is a shift in our thinking. Instead of placing ourselves at the centre of our own reality, we're starting to place Jesus more intentionally at the centre of more and more of our lives. That needs to include our groups. That needs to include giving Jesus the liberty that he has as our King to do as he chooses with our groups. Now, the good news about this is actually an invitation into something that is better than we have ever had before. It's an invitation into a faith adventure. I'd really want you to understand and take hold of that phrase, faith adventure, because it needs to become the hallmark of everything we think about in this next phase of our journey together. I really do believe that Jesus wants to take us on some adventures of faith where we learn to step out into the unknown and we start to do more and more things that he would want us to do, even if it's things we've not done before. So let me just encourage you, start to think about faith adventures that Jesus wants to have with you and your group. So just begin to imagine a new kind of pattern for your group life. Some of you meet fortnightly, some of you meet weekly. I'd like to encourage you to meet as regularly as you can, to be honest, because I would want you to understand that I think the small group is the centre of church life. Even more significant than our Sunday times, I think the small group life is the very centre where most of the action needs to happen. So commit to that perhaps even more regularly. But what I would say to you is this: instead of just presuming a pattern that is designed around your own needs, where there's a series of Bible studies that you would like to prefer, start to plan a rhythm where maybe 5 or 6 times a year there's a dedicated time. It could be a weekend or it could be a midweek occasion where you do 5 or 6 things for the sake of other people, where you push the boat out, you make some kind of effort that builds a bridge from your group to other people, that makes it easy for people that you know, for people that you have contact with, to just make friends, to just build social links with the people in your group. Now, the goal of all of this is not so that individuals just connect to one individual, it's so that individuals connect to multiple individuals. The magic of a loving community, the power of a loving community, is that when a person is drawn into 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 relationships, when a person starts to get to know a whole gaggle of Christians, they're much more likely to start to respond positively to the things that Christians say and do and invite them to. The strength of that social network, the strength of those loving bonds that the group has with that individual, grow and have a greater level of influence. Now, all of that is well motivated. Christians should want the very best for their friends and their contacts. The very best thing I have is a connection to Jesus. I would love to share that as appropriately as possible with as many people as I can. What I know, though, is the most effective way of Andrew influencing another person is if I'm with a group of people doing that. I'm much more effective if me and a handful of Christian friends are helpfully building links with one other person. A small group could build links with, say, 4 or 5 people over a year, so that they start to get more integrated into that circle. That's where the action starts to happen. If a group can start to do that, maybe 4 or 5 times a year, with 4 or 5 people each year, things could really get exciting at St. John's Church. So just a couple of thoughts to finish with. What is in this for you? How might this actually help you as a Christian? If I'm totally honest, any other form of small group life is only going to be partially biblical. Any other form of small group is going to miss out on quite a chunk of what Jesus always intended for Christians to do and for Christians to be. The big adventure, the great faith adventure, is simply and profoundly to join in with what Jesus does. Have a think about the gospel accounts again. They're simply a narrative of Jesus inviting his 12 closest friends to join in with this extraordinary public ministry which changed the world forever. What Jesus wants to do with us is to train us and develop us and invite us into this grand adventure too, where he gets to lead us into all kinds of situations where we can bless and encourage and love people in the real world. The adventure of discipleship is thinking beyond ourselves, and the power of the church is unlocking the small groups to join in with this. So can I encourage you, dare to make room in your head and in your heart for what I'm talking about here. This could be one of the most significant things for your own development. The second thing to emphasize is this. This could lead to the addition of many, many people into the church community. Just think of the smile on God's heart, God's face, when he sees a bunch of local Christians doing their bit to share the good news about Jesus Christ in lots of various and appropriate ways. It would make God so pleased and so proud that we're sharing what we know and what we have with more people. This could lead to church growth. If you're interested in those kinds of priorities and you want to play your part in this great and grand faith adventure, then buy into this and start exploring how you could do this with your small group.